Hello everyone, this is Garrett, and this is Serious Sam 3, and we're about to do level 7, Unearthing the Sun.
Sure you don't need a hand with this?
Nah, I got this. But hey, after I clean up this mess, you, me, bottle of whiskey, couple rocket launchers, we'll make an evening of it.
Come on, Sam. You know I'm more of a minigun girl. Try not to get yourself blown up out there, tough guy.
I'll do my best.
And immediately after that we move towards the pill bottle in the back, which decides to run away to over there. And after picking this up, gonna spawn a bunch of jerks, but it's the first secret area. I would kind of recommend not moving too far out into the sand, because that sandworm does still exist and is quite good at eating you if you go too far out. So after getting that, we are going to run back immediately. We're going to run to secret number 2, which is kind of hard to get if you don't get it immediately. But before we get it, we are going to see a cutscene of a dude. That is a scrapjack, and he is a jerk.
Yeah, I'd be mad too if I couldn't see my own junk.
Basically, he shoots rockets and is kind of a meanie. And also, there is some ammo for the sniper rifle up there. And the reason why this is kind of hard to get afterwards is because this entire thing is, like, blow-upable. And it is very, very likely that it does get destroyed by the many rockets which are going to be flying in our general direction from that scrapjack over there, which I'm just going to be killing with the machine gun. Try to avoid its rockets, obviously. It takes about 5 rockets to kill one of these, kind of similar to the red biomechanoids. And if you shoot 3 rockets at him, he actually gets stunned for a bit. And then you can actually kill him with a melee attack as well, but I prefer to just do it from a distance over here because this place is pretty nasty. And with pretty nasty, I mean, this level has like 400 something enemies, and about a third of those enemies are all in this first area right here. This is a pretty long battle we're going to be fighting here before we really go anywhere. And we're just going to do this carefully because I don't want to get destroyed by all of the kamikazes which are having some trouble finding us with the large amount of noise they're making all the time. I'm actually going to try and spawn some more enemies in just a second. The moment we pick up this ammo box over here, it's going to spawn a red biomechanoid in the distance. And I kind of like to take care of him as quickly as possible. You could use the rocket launcher on this guy, but it is kind of tricky due to the fact that he just continuously moves to the left over there until he reaches like a certain point, and then he starts moving back to the right again. Like, he just thought this is just continuously moving all the time, which is quite annoying. And I do actually just prefer taking him out like this due to the fact that there's just a lot of rockets that I don't really want to deal with. And if we take care of it quickly, then we don't have to worry about it so much anymore. But it should be dead in just a second. It takes it like 3, well, maybe 2.5 clips or something like that to kill one of those guys with the machine gun. And there is plenty of ammo to go around over here as well. So there really isn't a very good reason not to do it like that. Also, in the previous level, I said that the Mutilator, the new sort of melee-ish weapon, I didn't like it very much. And then immediately in the comments, I got someone who sent me a video who did basically the entire last battle of the previous level using only the Mutilator. It is actually really good when used properly. However, I don't really enjoy using it that much. It's still I still find it very scary to use. I'm just not very good with the weapon itself, I guess. And I find it worrying to use weapons that I'm not used to. So I'm just gonna stick to what I know. Every now and then I might switch to the Mutilator if it does seem like a good situation to use it. But overall, I'm just gonna do what I can do, how I like to play it. Everyone has their own playstyle. Some people like to incorporate the Mutilator. I don't really care so much about it myself. But it is actually really interesting to see how good people can be with it, because I honestly had no idea it could be that effective at all. But there you go, there's a video in the comments right there showing me that I was very wrong in that regard. And that's always fun to see. It's always fun to see people play games like this completely differently, and that it still just ends up working out in the end as well. And there you go. I'm just going to keep on fighting things. Every now and then bullets will fly around me, but it's no real big deal. These guys don't really do a whole lot of damage. There's just a really, really large amount of them. We're about halfway done with this first battle right here, to give you an idea just how many enemies there are. There's also quite a lot of Egyptian tablets in this level. Most of them are pretty unmissable. There's a couple which you might accidentally miss due to the fact that they sort of blend in with the general terrain, but other than that, it's pretty easy to see all of them. No real problems there. And we're just gonna slowly and surely kill everyone. And in this area, like this entire area, and with that I basically mean until we sort of go inside, has 154 enemies. And we're just gonna take it slow. There's a lot of different weapons we can use, but the machine gun's just really good against all the enemies we're fighting right here, right now. The Devastator is actually really good as well, but we don't actually have ammo for it, so there goes that idea. And obviously the minigun is going to work quite well against some of these enemies as well, but I'm just going to do it like this, because it works out quite well, regardless. I'm just going to shoot a couple missiles in that guy's direction. I don't like it when they move, but it's something they do quite frequently. And I think they only, like the Scrapjacks seem to only really get stunned if you shoot 3 rockets without hitting them with anything else. Like they need to, I guess they just need to take a certain amount of damage in a certain amount of time, but it also like has to be a certain amount of health that they have to be at. It's like really odd. And I don't really like using it too often because the melee attack you do against those guys is really long. And it does look pretty cool, so I do want to try it out at least against one of those guys, but it gets very dangerous, especially when there's stuff like this just all over the place all the time. You don't really want to get hit, like shot by a missile repeatedly while you're trying to melee attack a single dude. It doesn't really work out that well. And I don't want any part of it, but I think we should reach a point in a minute where we should be able to take care of at least one of those guys with a melee attack without being too worried about what's going on. You can at least very clearly hear them walk around all the time. They make a lot of noise when they walk. And there's one right there, which is actually pretty much the perfect area. So like we move close, we press the E button. We hear some reused sounds from Serious Sam 2. Give it a little kiss. The Scrapjacks have a really cool like design as well. Like they are apparently made just from various killed Earth Defense Force people, I guess. I'm not really sure how it worked, but they have like several different heads that you could sort of see. Like it just has a whole bunch of mouths on its face that you rip off from its neck. It just looks really cool, and it's probably one of the cooler enemies. There's also another enemy that's going to get introduced in this level, and it's probably the worst enemy in the game, but we'll get there when we get there. Until then, we're just going to keep shooting dudes. They're trying to hit us with rockets. The rockets of the Scrapjack, I don't think they are as powerful as the ones from the red biomechanoids, but I might be wrong in that regard. I just don't really like getting hit by them, and it seems like I don't know if the splash damage is any different from the red biomechanoids, but they seem to hit me a lot less than the biomechanoids. So I guess there probably is some difference between those guys, and there is a lot of them as well, which is kind of scary part of this place, but we should survive. Also, when they get stunned, I don't know if this is actually true, but it seems like they take less damage for a while. Like, you can't insta-kill them, obviously, but if you just keep shooting them, it seems like their health goes down a little bit slower than usual. Is that wrong? I don't know. Seems like it, though. And speaking of the Devastator, which we weren't, but I am now, there is a Devastator lying right over here, and that is actually quite useful to take care of some of the guys in this level. And there's going to be some Devastator ammo scattered throughout this level because of it.
Now this is what I call a gun.
And it's nice to get some ammo back for that thing, because killing red biomechanoids becomes a lot easier if you just have to point your weapon at it and shoot 5 times. Same goes for Scrapjacks. I think they take the same amount of damage if you just keep shooting them with your gun. So whatever works best for you. We are starting to run out of ammo for the machine gun. I think there is probably just a lot lying around, though, due to the fact that we killed a lot of soldiers, and a lot of them do actually carry around assault rifles as well. Like, there's just a bunch of ammo just scattered all over this place. So if we run around for a bit, we should easily find enough ammo to get back at it again. Plus, there's just a bunch of ammo boxes all over the place as well. Like, this is a pretty luxurious area when it comes to getting ammo for your guns. A lot of shotgun ammo as well. which may be useful in the future. And also giant worms that try to eat people. There's actually also another secret laser gun in this level. They are just scattered all over the place in this game. But that's, I guess, what you gotta do when you keep certain items only in secret areas. So, arguably, it might be a good idea to start using it. But I could also just let the other Scrapjack shoot that guy in the back. Not actually sure that does anything. It might actually not damage them at all, due to the way enemy damage works in this game. But, hey, if he likes to block his friend's rockets, then I'm not gonna stop him from doing that. Seems to work quite well. I don't really want to use the Devastator because there is an enemy coming up where I kind of want to use it on, because that enemy does get pretty annoying if you don't take care of it very quickly. So I'm just going to take this slowly but carefully. Very eventually we're going to get in that area, but for now we are just going to go all around, make sure everything dies, and we don't have to worry about stuff anymore. So much stuff keeps respawning as well, so like I said, a third of the enemies of the level are all in this place. It's really huge, and it's a pretty interesting start to the level. But moving forward, I'm going to grab the Devastator because it's going to be a thing, and then people start spawning. One of which is that guy, and the other is that arachnoid up there, which does a potentially really large amount of damage. I'm just going to kill these with the minigun because my character decided to grab it. Might as well use those weapons every now and then, right? And arguably a lot of other weapons will work as well. Like, I'm just going to use whatever I feel like right now. Not really going to put too much thought into it. But just about anything that works against clear skeletons in the previous level works quite well against these guys as well. Although I am taking a considerably larger amount of damage than I would like. But hey, that's why we entered this level with a large amount of health. That went really bad, actually. That could have gone a lot better, but I'm glad we took care of the arachnoid as quickly as possible, because that enemy can actually just get really irritating. And it's good that it's gone. And I believe that might actually be the last enemy here. Indeed it is. So now we can take our time and just run around for a bit. Doesn't really matter that we lost a reasonable amount of health and armor there, because we can just run around and just grab a whole bunch of power-ups, and we should pretty easily get back on like 100 if we really wanted to. Like, if we just walk all over this place, we should be able to get max armor as well, but I think I'll just leave it like this. And I'm actually going to keep moving forward, because when we walk around the wall, and you want to stay close to the wall, otherwise you're going to get eaten by a giant worm, and that's bad. Like, even doing this is kind of risky, because you already start summoning the giant sandworm the moment you do that. But if you just stay close to the wall, then usually it shouldn't be able to reach you. So doing something like this is just entirely safe. I don't know why it just doesn't like this entire area over here. So you are pretty safe. Though I do like to wait every now and then, because the worm sometimes just sort of randomly decides that it can eat you over here. And that's why I just, it's a worrying area. But we just came there for the laser gun, and also consequentially secret number 3. And with that, we can finally move on to an area that's not this. It took 13 minutes roughly, but we finally made it through and get the remaining armor required to get pretty close. So the mutilator can actually be used on like statues and stuff as well, which is pretty cool because it means we don't have to waste our rockets. Get some minigun ammo, which is always nice, of course. And moving forward, there's a couple clear skeletons coming our way, trying to kill us, doing a reasonably good job. Might as well use the mutilator every now and then. You do actually have to keep aiming at the enemy sometimes, like they have to at least be on your screen, which can be a little bit annoying, but whatever. If there's only one of them, then it's not too hard to keep looking at them. And obviously the sledgehammer would have just worked just as well. So do whatever you enjoy doing as we go through this horrible place. So we just fell down a hole, and we can walk backwards to get some secret health. Might be useful. And anyway, it's secret number 4.
What the hell was that?
And that's another enemy that gets introduced in this level. It is a cave demon.
Shit! Space monkey!
These guys are horrible. They are probably my least favorite enemy when it comes to trying to kill every enemy in the game. And honestly, I don't really have that good of a strategy against these guys other than just waiting for them to jump towards you and then shooting them with a shotgun or something.
The only good space monkey is a dead space monkey.
Indeed. And I'm actually going to raise my volume just a little bit so I can actually hear what's going on. But yeah, those guys mostly just want to raise the game like the music. Like, just constantly have the battle music playing, and they're just a real nuisance. Just aside, they don't even deal that much damage, but they're just kind of annoying. So here's some guys. You need to stand slightly further up before they see you, because I don't know why. But it's kind of amusing that you can just sort of do this and kill them very easily like that. They don't even really care that you go up here, but you know, we're here to kill everyone, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. And here is another reason why I don't like space monkeys or Grulian cave demons or something. I don't even remember their full name, but they're just really irritating, and you can actually destroy the pillars as well, which does work. Don't get me wrong. It does work to get rid of their like hiding spots and stuff. But it takes so long, unless you're gonna use rockets, and then it's just a real waste of rockets to do that. And it's just, I think the first time I actually played through this, I didn't even kill all the enemies. Like, I just sort of ran past them after a while, which meant that the battle music was playing throughout the entire level constantly, even when there weren't really enemies nearby anymore. Like, if you keep these enemies alive, I think the music just keeps playing for an obnoxiously long amount of time, which is one of the reasons why I want to kill these guys. The other, obviously, is because I just want to kill everything. But it is tedious, and yeah, I don't think they really serve as a purpose to kill you either, because they just don't deal enough damage to do that. Even when their lifeless corpse flies towards you like that, they do not actually deal damage. Only if they are still alive and accidentally manage to hit you at all, they have a chance to deal a small amount of damage, which is pretty much inconsequential. But what are you gonna do? There's an enemy over here somewhere. There it is. Oh. You can melee it, then it's dead, and we can move in a different direction. This entire place is just one big dead end, so I was just making sure that there were no enemies there, but yeah. There's just a couple enemies hiding around the corner, and you can kill them with a single press of the button. So as long as you don't get too terrified, you should be alright. Mostly what these guys can do is make a really loud noise, which is their main weapon in this regard, because when you're not aware those enemies exist, they can actually be pretty scary when you're running there and suddenly they screech like they do. So here's another couple of space monkey cave demons. I quite like the name Space Monkeys. It is a pretty good name for them, honestly. And because these enemies are so great, they decided they wanted to jump back to the middle again. These guys sort of have a weird pathfinding mechanic where eventually they'll reach you, but most of the time they're just sort of jumping around. And for some reason these guys just jump back to the middle again, and then they get lost because they don't actually know how to jump back up again. Is that it? Is that? Yes, that is the last one. So we can make our way back upstairs again. There's always at least one which jumps back into the middle over there, and it's kind of annoying due to the fact that they're hard to see, very easy to miss in that regard. And they're just not that fun to fight. They don't do anything. And they're probably made by a game designer who was having a really bad day, is all I can really imagine. Plus, this place is kind of hard to navigate in general. Also, there's that guy. Not a huge fan. And don't really like to deal with it. But there's also an Egyptian tablet, which is the main reason why we are here. Because that is Egyptian tablet number 1 out of 7? I want to say 7. That sounds right to me. But having seen that tablet, we move upstairs, kill these last 2 dudes, and finally go back outside again, where only the best of the best is waiting for us, which is another scrapjack further up ahead, and then about 10 million more space monkeys, which is just the bee's knees. I don't really know what weapon I want to use on that guy. At some point I should probably use my laser gun, but I'm not really that big of a fan of the laser gun in this game. It just feels a little bit too strong in most cases. And so, like, all our other guns are pretty good at taking care of these guys anyway, so it's like, whatever, right? I don't care. I'm just gonna kill them the way I want to kill them. And that works pretty well, usually. Look at that sledgehammer. it still doesn't fail us when it comes to killing clear skeletons. Outside of maybe sometimes it's being like a little bit hard to see stuff, but you know. We're not dead yet, so obviously it's working. And that's good. There's some health power-ups over here as well. They're like behind the little sphinxes, so you can pick those up if you so desire. And more space monkeys that are happily jumping all over the place. You can actually just sort of stand here, and they'll just sort of jump in front of you every now and then. They won't actually try to attack you a lot of the time, which is kind of amusing. Although one of them just went over there, which I don't really like. But yeah, they like to jump like in front of this doorway, which is pretty great. And it makes it a little bit easier, but after a while, you'll just end up with a bunch of them which are just sort of stuck. Like sometimes they'll just be on a pillar and just continuously go back and forth in sort of a weird spinning motion. It looks really weird. They don't get anywhere. And they don't do anything. And they're horrible, and I hate every single part of these enemies. Just because they're useless. They don't do anything, and there's too much health power-ups to really be a threat or anything. And honestly, I would just sort of recommend running past them and bearing with the battle music playing all the time. And apparently that guy can clip through a statue, which was a bit weird looking, but alright. Not gonna question that. And look... You're just sort of waiting for them to stand still so you can shoot them in the face with a shotgun. But there's some power-ups over here, so we're just gonna let it slide for now. One of which is armor, which we lost some of because it did deal a little bit of damage. And guess what? There's another area. But, you know, we're just gonna bear through it, kill the actual dangerous enemies first before we deal with the remaining space monkeys. There's a couple of like arachnoids, like tiny ones, which sort of walk around this place, so it can be a pretty scary spot, but for the most part, it's a matter of having a chance to use our shotgun again. Which, you know, these enemies are probably one of the best enemies to use a shotgun against, because you just shoot them once and they die. They have very little health. They have, I think I actually looked it up and they have like 31 health or something, which is like 3 shots and a small poke to kill anyone with. I originally thought I'd just use a sledgehammer, but it's actually just really tedious. And it's very likely you are actually just going to take a reasonable amount of damage if you only choose to use the sledgehammer. But it works if you're like careful, so... There's a lot of different ways you can take care of these guys. And all of them are horrible. They're not really that great. But I believe... Another thing I looked up was how many of these guys there actually are. I think there's like 111 in the entire game. So, most of them are in here, which is nice. Means we don't have to deal with too much of them. But god, every one of them is too many in my taste, honestly. Not a fan. Not a fan. But what are you gonna do? Eventually we'll have killed all of them, and then we don't have to worry about any of them anymore. So then I don't care anymore either. We just gotta make sure none of them stay alive as they try to jump in our faces. And they're obviously not very good at it at all. Also, the battle music in this game just sort of keeps playing longer than it sometimes needs to. And it might not be immediately obvious if the battle is actually over because there's still like a space monkey somewhere. Or because there's just some weird enemy wobbling about somewhere. Look! It was a space monkey! Alright. Because naturally they jump between these areas as well. But oh well. After you kill those guys, it's going to spawn a couple clear skeletons. We probably could have avoided those entirely had we not killed that last cave demon / space monkey. And I'm actually going to like go over here, spawn things so they walk in our general direction. Then I'm going to go back to this area because there's actually a reasonable amount of useful power-ups over here. Bunch of ammo and armor and stuff like that. Mostly here for the ammo due to the fact that we do use our machine gun a lot in this level. It is just a really useful weapon and it works against many things. And I like killing many things. And I do believe, there we go, that was the enemy I was waiting for. There's a couple clear skeletons crawling down the wall. I do like the way that looks though. I really like that animation personally. And I know there's a couple of like dudes. Yeah. Arachnoids. Sort of waiting around the corner here when you go to the right over there. Which is also one of the main reasons why I actually went to the right previously. Holy crap, this... Oh, that could be bad. Duh. Please lie down. There we go. Okay, so... Small note. Usually, that Scrapjack doesn't actually make it through this door. He sort of gets stuck in it, which is why I was a little bit surprised when he was suddenly in my face. But we killed him. It didn't go too bad. We used some rockets, which I kind of didn't want to use, but well, what are you gonna do? We killed one guy. Like, those Scrapjack's heads deal more damage than like the tiny hearts you get out of the Rocketeers, which is pretty cool. I like there's like a difference in damage between those things. Obviously, because the Scrapjack's head is just a lot bigger than a heart. But I think the heart does like enough damage to kill them like halfway through, and the Scrapjack's head is actually enough to just kill them entirely, which is neat. Very neat indeed. And having killed everyone, we're just gonna move on. Not much to say over here. Just keep killing. And eventually, we'll happily make our way to the end of this level. We're about like 2/3 into it right now, so only a little bit further to go. Sort of. There's just a lot of like really big areas. This level mostly consists of like 2 gigantic areas and like the one area in the middle, sort of connecting the two. And it's kind of an interesting level, but as I said before, I would have been okay with this place, where the space monkey's not an aspect of it. And there's going to be more, but there's also going to be Devastator shells over there, and getting 20 Devastator shells at any point in time is fantastic, and I'm quite happy with that. But moving on, there's going to be a couple more jerks crawling the way downtown.
You guys don't know it yet, but you are seriously doomed.
And honestly, after killing a couple, it doesn't hurt too bad to just grab the old sledgehammer and start smashing them. Or just miss them entirely. That's also a thing you could do, but I wouldn't really recommend it too much. But for some reason, I have elected to miss all of them repeatedly. But you know, eventually, as long as you know how to dodge them, there shouldn't be any issues at all. One nice thing about clear skeletons is that it is very possible to just dodge them consistently. And as long as you don't panic, you probably will, actually. They are pretty fast, but as long as you're moving diagonally away from them, it's very unlikely they'll ever actually hit you. And that's good. I'm going to switch to the old Devastator, reload it, because there's a Scrapjack over there. And I don't really want to deal with it. So we're just going to shoot it in the face 5 times, and then, once again, reload our trusty Devastator as we move forward into yet another area where I don't really enjoy being very much, because there's actually just a really large amount of enemies here. There's about 40 enemies just waiting for us in this tiny area, most of which are just soldiers, but there's gonna be a couple more dangerous enemies as well. And I'm being like very careful with my Devastator ammo. There's just very specific things I like to kill with them. Mostly just the really dangerous stuff that I just want to get rid of immediately. Like those guys. A single shot from the Devastator is enough to kill those blue laser dudes. And the blue lasers hurt enough for me to go, yes, that's a nice thing to use them on, because I don't want to die. And I've already shown many times that that might be wrong. I have gotten hit more times than I would have liked so far, but honestly, I do actually enjoy survival quite a bit. As much as it sometimes may not seem like it. Fortunately, the remainder of these guys over here are just sort of waiting around the walls, trying to shoot us with a shotgun from 10 miles away. But as we move closer, it's going to spawn a really large amount of Rocketeers, which are kind of the minor issue, combined with a couple clear skeletons, which are kind of the major issue. It's very easy to get caught up on killing these guys and then just sort of ignoring the clear skeleton, but they are definitely there, and you want to take care of them before they start hurting you. Plus, the clear skeletons take this really awkward route, just sort of running around all over the place and not really doing much of anything. That one was running into a wall repeatedly, which, not really sure what that was all about, but this is what enemies do. I'm not gonna question their life decisions. They just sometimes like walking into walls. But anyway, right now we are at 294 enemies. We got 5 secrets. We got Egyptian tablet number 1 and soon Egyptian tablet number 2, which is over here, as you can see. And comes the final area of the level, pretty much, which is again going to take quite a while because there's still a third of the enemies remaining. So right now it's pointing at numerous buildings which contain the key to the door we saw just a second ago. Might not be immediately obvious due to the fact that we haven't actually moved to the door yet, but over here, as Natriska is probably saying, there's a door, and there's 4 circles on it, and we need to get the 4 circles to open the door. Also, there's another Egyptian tablet over here. And each one of the buildings that we are going to be going into also contains another Egyptian tablet as well. So that adds up to 7 in this level alone. And they are kind of missable, actually. Like, even though there's one in front of every building, some of them just really blend in with the actual building itself, which is kind of awkward. But I know they are there, and therefore I will not miss them. Unless I forget about them, which would be kind of silly. But fortunately, there's more cave demons to fight, and we're actually going to be, like, in this little square for a while, because a lot of enemies are surrounding us right now. And I don't really want to go outside. There's a lot of, like, rocket biomechanoids outside, and there's a couple clear skeletons and stuff walking inside the just sort of... Is it a building? Does this count as being inside the building or inside a small courtyard? I'm going to say courtyard in this particular event. Also, there's a couple of arachnoids, like the really big ones, that are surrounding this area as well. A couple of scrapjack, like there's just a bunch of everything outside, and I'd rather just stay inside and deal with the space monkeys first. Also, at the end of this place, I'm just going to use this again, because I accidentally selected it again. That's always a good enough reason to use a minigun in my humble opinion. But after we are done in this area, there should only be 1 enemy left alive. We should be at like 443 out of 444, and we still have about 150 enemies left to go before we are at that point. So we are, as you can probably guess, going to be here for a while. It's kind of hard to say when you really want to go outside this place, but obviously first we want to get rid of some of the more dangerous enemies, one of which is over there. That was one of the arachnoids, which I just shot, while the other one was probably aiming at us, because it is on roughly the same sort of building over there, but on the other side. I don't really know if this is the best things to use the Devastator on, but it makes them dead, and having those guys be dead is very convenient, due to the fact that they can hit us from just about anywhere on this place. It's a really big open area, and it gets very scary sometimes. And aside from that, I mostly want to use this weapon on the red biomechanoids that are surrounding this place. I might actually use it on like the scrapjacks as well. But these are sort of the main enemies I want to get rid of first, because they are just quite simply the most dangerous enemies walking around. I just missed, which is kind of sad. I'm going to kill that clear... Oh, that was a waste. Accidentally hit the wall instead of the actual thing I wanted to hit. But they do sort of surround this area. They will never actually go inside the courtyard, which is why this place is at least a little bit safe. And I'm hearing clear... Yeah. I could hear one surrounding, and I guess I just entirely missed that one, but it was definitely there. But I don't like going outside too quickly here. Oh, jeez, come on. One of which is one of the reasons is just because of those cave demons, because there's just a lot of them just outside this general area, and I don't want to forget any of them. I don't want to have the music play all the time, but it's kind of an unavoidable mess in this particular instance. Also, the last remaining secret areas, like the last 3 of them, are all over here, and we want to get those as well. But before we do that, we're just going to go and walk a very specific route. As you can see, there was still an arachnoid alive, which is just sort of walking around in circles over here. But we need a keycard to open a bunch of the doors that are in this area. And I'm going to kill that arachnoid very quickly, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. And now we don't really have any more scary hit scan people that actually deal a large amount of damage anymore, so that's nice. Kill that scrapjack with some rockets. We are going to be pretty low on ammo after this level, by the way, which is... I don't really know how I feel about that yet, but I'm just going to let future me take care of that in the next level. Oh, jeez. And I'm sure it's going to work out just wonderfully. I'm sure we can figure out a way where the rather low amount of rocket and Devastator ammo that we have at the end of this is not actually going to be a problem. And I don't know if that's true. I don't actually know if that is a correct statement to make, but it makes this level a lot easier, and that's all I really care about right now at this current moment in time. And who cares about planning in ahead, right? That's not a thing we need. We just need to sort of believe in ourselves that we can do it, and then it'll probably be fine. There's very rarely a level where it's completely impossible to do. things with just a minigun. Like, the machine gun is just really good for a lot of situations, including situations where I'd rather have a different weapon. Also, this is kind of awkward because I know he's there, but I can't really tell if he's moving, and he's not. But we should be okay. You can use the mutilator against the scrapjacks as well, but he'll actually just pull you towards him, and then he starts shooting you with rockets from a very, very close range. And being shot with rockets from a very, very close range often means you get rockets shot in your face repeatedly. And it's not good. It's not a good thing to have happen to you, which is why I try to avoid using the mutilator. But like in instances like this, I could just do something like this, and it would probably work fine. Look at that. Look at how many enemies just died there. I just saved like 8 bullets. Very, very useful. I think the main thing that's kind of cool to use the mutilator against is probably actually the blue biomechanoids, the one that shoots lasers. It is kind of scary to use due to the fact that they will be very close to you, but they do die very quickly because of it, so that's that. There is a keycard in this particular thing, and that might be pretty useful on account that it is a keycard and is used for just about every door in this area. Also, if you lost a lot of health, which I sort of did, you can get some secret health over there, which is secret number 6. And while we are here, I'm going to walk into this building and use the keycard to open this door. And since we have a cool glove thing, we can make the statue move forward. And I'm actually just going to pick up all the stuff around here and then just sort of look at this animation. There's 4 of these things, and usually I'm just going to like start the animation and then walk back outside again, because the animation's the same every single time, and I don't really like waiting for that very much. But picking up stuff usually spawns enemies all around the area, and I don't really like that very much. This particular one is probably one of the scarier ones due to the fact that it spawns a lot of clear skeletons. And clear skeletons, while I said that they are easy to avoid, and while I do believe that they are, clear skeletons, not really anyone's favorite enemy to fight against usually, because they can sometimes just be jerks and accidentally hit you, and when they do hit you, they actually hurt quite badly. But we have a sledgehammer, and we don't have to worry about such silly little things. We're just going to hit them over the head and not worry about things anymore. I forgot a tablet, I believe. I didn't think I actually looked at the tablet. And this is one of the reasons why it's just very easy to miss, though. Because they are just, like, over here. They sort of look like the wall. And, you know, it's possible to miss them. And it's kind of sad when that happens. But what are you going to do? We can move forward now. We've looked at everything. We got all the secret stuff, I do believe. And there's a bunch of space monkeys jumping around this place. And like I said, most of the time, I'm just going to be walking inside one of those buildings, let the animation play, and then go back outside again. In this place, it sort of works due to the fact that there is a secret area pretty nearby, and plus there's just a bunch of space monkeys we have to kill here anyway, so you might as well focus on that afterwards. It's kind of scary to do anything here, though, just because of the sheer number of these guys, but simultaneously, we just move. As long as we don't move directly backwards in their like line of attack, usually they won't hit us. And open that door. And start the animation and go back outside again while we kill all these guys. There's just a lot of these guys. It's very easy to accidentally miss one of them as well, because sometimes they will just jump around from like pillar to pillar. Other times they will actually just stand still in between pillars forever. And it's very easy to just miss them entirely because of that. But anyway, there's some cannonballs over there, and we can use the mutilator once again to destroy that particular thing. You can also use any explosive if you want, but this works quite well usually. And I know there is one like on this thing. It is the struggle when it comes to actually trying to kill everything. And, you know, I'm playing the moddable version, so I won't even be in the leaderboard, but it's just the sheer thought that I want to kill everyone that moves in this game now. It has become a thing that I want to do, and that's exactly what we are going to do. And sometimes it means we will just be stuck in areas for a while, which otherwise we would have just run away from. Because honestly, I don't really recommend doing this. I don't really recommend trying to kill everyone in this level, unless you really want to get a decent score, I guess. Or just want to kill everyone like me, because this is just tedious, like these guys. And there's just a really large amount of them. And it's just sort of a matter of waiting for them to jump towards us so we can shoot them in the face with a gun. And I'm actually going to try to destroy this pillar because I think there's one behind it. And, you know, sometimes it's worthwhile trying to destroy the things they can jump on so they don't jump on them anymore. Or maybe they fall down and somehow die from falling damage, which I'm pretty sure is actually impossible. But, you know, it would have been cool if it happened. Wishful thinking, I suppose. We're just going to keep shooting these guys. Eventually they'll run out, and then the music will stop, and then I'll be a happy bunny. I'm just actually going to grab this thing. Spawn a couple extra things. The Secret Syrian Artifact, which again spawns a bunch of jerks, so I'm going to run away immediately because I believe it actually spawns a red biomechanoid to the left of that area. And can be pretty scary to deal with if you are very close to it, which is why we walk in the opposite direction. But from here, we should very easily be able to destroy it. Do we still have devastator ammo? Oh, we do still have 4 bullets, so we could use that, I guess. I don't really have like a preferred method of killing this particular guy. Whatever works, honestly, is a decent enough strategy. And that worked, so, you know, I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to move on with our new dead biomechanoid, and I'm going to be very, very happy about that particular thing. And they are pretty good at just immediately jumping away again as well, these guys. They are... I hate everything. I do genuinely hate everything about this particular situation. And honestly, I think this is just one of the weaker levels just because of these guys. But I will say that the level becomes a lot more fun if you just completely ignore them, as I've said a couple times now. It just, you don't really miss out by not killing these guys, aside from maybe hearing some other music than the one we are just constantly hearing all the time now. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this, because this level is pretty long and I just sort of forget what I say a lot of the time. There's like an achievement for killing these guys while they're airborne. If you just wait over here for a while, they'll usually start jumping between these buildings or something like that as well, and it's very easy to just kill them with the machine gun like that. And that achievement is pretty easy to get. Also, stuff like that makes it pretty doable. If they just jump towards you from a really large distance, then it shouldn't be too difficult to kill them like that. Oh god, and you can just constantly hear them make those weird little chirping noises the entire time. Hoping that you killed the last one, and then you can see one of them just happily jumping along again and taunt you, I suppose. Whatever. We're going to walk to this place. I'll get rid of the last space monkeys in a second. First I'm going to open this door, start the animation, and then immediately run to the next one, which is actually really close by. And by the time that animation ends, I probably will be able to run all the way back again, so that's pretty neat. Well, this is new. I don't know what happened there, but for some reason, my hands got stuck. Also, there's a secret area over here. A mini secret, which is pretty neat. There's a tablet over there. I think I once again forgot to show off one of the tablets, but I'll get back on that when we go back again, I suppose. But actually I'll do it now because I still remember it, and I don't like forgetting things, but I'll just casually run back. There's another tablet over here, and I honestly couldn't remember if I showed it off or not yet. There's not really a very good indication to show off whether or not you've already gotten a tablet before or not. But there is one there, and it's neat. Please jump towards me. Just please, alright? Thank you. That is very kind. I can still hear them. I can still constantly hear them. Oh, God. But whatever. We started animating both of those things, which means that there is now a couple coins available for us. These things don't move back until you pick them up again either, which is nice. So you can't just run away from them once you can go back down when you pick them up. As long as you're careful enough and remember that every time you pick one of those things up, it is going to spawn a couple jerks. And that one in particular spawns a Scrapjack all the way to the left over there, who slowly walks towards you from all the way over there. And it can be pretty easy to fight stuff to the right over here, and then suddenly, oh, I'm getting shot by rockets all the time. And that is not the most pleasant of experiences, because it does actually spawn a pretty large amount of soldiers, that particular one, that spawn like on that side. So it's very easy to get distracted by those guys while simultaneously getting shot by many missiles. And it's not that great. But after taking care of that guy, we just take care of the remaining guys, which are trying to shoot us with shotguns and are obviously not very good at it. Kill a space monkey that came out of the sky from somewhere. And then try to see where clears are coming towards us from. Yeah, I figured as much. I knew there was one that jumped past me, but I had no idea where it went to, so you know, what are you gonna do? pick up the remaining assault rifle ammo, and maybe some shotgun ammo as well. I mostly want to focus on the assault rifle ammo, obviously, due to the fact that that's kind of my main weapon during this stage. And also look at another Egyptian tablet. This is number 6, I believe, out of 7. And number 7 is waiting for us slightly up ahead in the other thing we have already activated as well, which is hanging out over there. And that is the 7th tablet, leaving us with nothing to collect. We've collected all the secret stuff. We just have to kill everything now. But again, spawns a couple dudes all over this place that are very slowly actually walking towards us. They take some really weird routes, in my opinion. They could have had them spawn a little bit closer, but fair enough. We're just going to kill all of them. We're not going to question why they spawn away slightly further away than they, in my opinion, need to be. You're out of explosives. That's actually kind of annoying, because I don't really like killing scrapjacks with the machine gun all that much. It's not very effective, honestly. Like, I mean, it works, but shooting 5 rockets is a little bit quicker than shooting a, like, 3 clips worth of machine gun ammo. In fact, you know what? I'm actually gonna use the laser gun, because why not? We don't really use that much. We got one in this level, plus we got a bunch of ammo for it as well. Might as well use it every now and then. Might as well get some use out of it, even if ammo for it is a bit limited. Alright, so right now there are... What is this guy doing? Where is this guy going? Why is he leaving me? Don't just run away. Like, sometimes the enemy have very specific paths they need to follow, and I don't know why, but there's currently still 10 enemies alive that I want to kill in this area, 2 of which are back in the courtyard over there. There's like 2 scrapjacks which spawn after you kill, or after you pick up the 4th coin. At least I think that's when they spawn. It might just be one of the random coins as well, but they don't actually move from that area, so we can just sort of wobble around here for a while. I guess there's probably still like a couple soldiers just somewhere. Like, sometimes soldiers just sort of like spawn over here a little bit later than I feel like they need to, and it's very possible to miss them in that regard. It is actually a reasonable strategy to just sort of like jump inside from the outside bit. Like, there's just a couple of stones you can jump on top of, and then it might be a little bit easier to see if there is still enemies around this area, though I don't actually hear anyone. So it's very likely that there's like some space monkeys left alive, although I think I just heard a soldier as well, so I'm not actually sure if there's one of those jumps where you need a high frame rate or not, but it might be. Oh no, it's not. I'm just being someone who is incapable of jumping normally, I suppose. But yeah, there's at least that guy. And now it just sort of becomes a matter of finding the remaining 3 enemies. But I don't think I actually heard anyone, so this might take a while. I'm sorry about that. I'm not actually sure how I want to kill these guys either. Like, you can just kill them with the shotgun very easily, due to the fact that they don't really move. I'm actually just going to use a minigun on that guy, just so it speeds up the process a little bit. And I don't really care too much. Like, oh, okay, that's nice. Can you please not go away too far? That would be cool. There we go. Like, this one, he just sits there forever, and you can very easily just destroy him like this. Every now and then you want to move back a bit, because he does get a little bit annoyed by you shooting him with a shotgun, and he will want to shoot rockets in your general direction, but he's not that good at it. So if you just do this every now and then, I think you're just completely safe next to this tiny, tiny wall, due to the fact that he is just incapable of moving anywhere. So that's nice. Now we just need to find the remaining 2 enemies. One of which is that guy, and the other is somewhere. And due to the fact that the music stopped, I can only assume that it is a space monkey in one of 2 possible locations. One of which is somewhere in between these pillars, and it just got like lost somewhere. Is that him? Nope. Very often they'll just sort of like sit in between some of these pillars, and they just don't really know what to do with their lives anymore. But it can take a while to actually spot it, which is a little bit worrying that the like battle music isn't playing right now. on account that it would usually have started playing by the time that we're sort of in that general area. There might be one still on top of that thing as well. It's very possible. There's just a bunch of different spots where there might be an enemy, and it's one of the troubles when you're actually trying to kill everyone. That there might just be an enemy that just never got like aggroed properly, and it just sort of sits around on a really high plateau somewhere. And we just have to figure out where it is. Might take a little bit of time. Might have to just cut it out somewhere, but I'm sure that if we look around for a while, that's a tree, we will eventually find it, and we can move on with our lives. This is probably the more irritating part of trying to kill all the enemies. That there's just an enemy somewhere who's gotten lost. Yep, there's just a soldier somewhere. Somewhere, I say questioningly. I heard it yell at me just now, so it is obviously somewhere over here. I think there might actually be like a wall over here where they sometimes... Yeah, okay. Sometimes enemies are just standing in places where it's just very unlikely you'll ever get to. But hey, 50 minutes into the level, we have killed 443 enemies. We found 7 tablets. We found 8 secret areas. And we are going to jump down to this door, which should now be openable. With these nifty circles that we picked up, which are now inexplicably blue for some unknown reason. But it takes us to this little elevator thing over here, which is then surrounded by a force field for some reason. You can't really walk off of this thing. But you can make it wobble a little bit by walking into it, though. Though it's not immediately obvious that it's wobbling. Also, you can jump around a bunch as well, which doesn't actually do anything. You cannot actually jump over the force field. So we're just going to have to sit here and just sort of look outside. A lot of, like, giant blue pillars all over this place. And that is where we are going. We are going to that giant bridge. And now it's a little bit more obvious that it's wobbling if we just sort of move around like that, but we're just going to have to amuse ourselves that way. Eventually, this force field is going to go away, and we can actually just jump off of this thing. The only downside is that if you jump off of this thing, you instantly die, and still not a huge fan of dying, so I'm going to try to avoid falling off, and instead just walk forward, as there is really no enemies here at all. Just a bunch of cool looking areas with the occasional door, and a cutscene.
Gwen, Horace is online and spitting out plasma like a...
That's amazing. We finally got an actual piece of Syrian tech running. We learned everything we know from reverse engineering, but we've never been able to make any of their stuff work. Oh my god, do you realize what this...
Gwen, I'm glad you're happy, but there's a bar stool out there with my name on it, and if I'm not mistaken, we got one more of these things to get running.
Oh, right. Sorry. Okay, the other power generator is over in Luxor. Get that spun up, and you can head for the showers.
Copy that.
And there we are. We activated the first thing out of 2. We can crouch on this elevator, just like the previous one, to look through it, and get a little bit more of a better view of the actual, like, elevator shaft, which actually looks pretty cool as well, but the force field is kind of blocking it off a lot of the time, which is kind of a shame. And when we go back up here, we find that a couple things are no longer as they were previously. We also see HDR, which is making everything very bright. But yeah, everything's sort of broken down over here for some reason. And we can go in this direction, or we can fall down, or we can go in this direction, move forward, where we are going to find a Knum, I think it's called. I'm not actually sure what these guys are called anymore. They're kind of scary. We can kill them at C4 though, and we have a bunch of it. If you don't have a bunch of it, there's a box slightly further up ahead where you can get an infinite amount, and this guy is honestly not that big of a deal. Although he is pretty good at avoiding me. Sometimes he runs towards you and you want to run away. That's it, really. Because I had so much C4, he just sort of died instantly, but you can just... There's like a big blinking red thing on him where you throw C4 on and then you blow it up and he takes a really large amount of damage. This is where you can get an infinite amount of C4, so if you just immediately run along this pillar and grab that, if you're just completely out of it for some reason, then you'll have enough C4 to basically do the exact same thing from here. Every now and then he'll throw fireballs, but the pillars will usually block it off. I think it's basically just a case of walking in a certain direction until he throws it and then just going into the opposite direction though. And you might actually recognize him from the Serious Sam Serious Sam HD the second encounter DLC pack, which was awful. And it also had like a similar version of that guy. It's just that he was like really low quality polygon texture, everything. This one just looks a lot better, and it's basically the same dude. But he dies a lot quicker and doesn't require weird gimmicks to kill, which is kind of nice. Well, aside from C4 or just general explosives, I guess. You can actually use a cannon on him as well. And then you shoot him like 4 times and he dies as well, which is pretty neat. Whatever works best for you. So when we go into this thing, we end the level. You can also just sort of jump outside of it, but this will work as well. There's a hole in there, so. And that's kind of where you're supposed to go. And that ends this level. Probably the longest level we've done so far, and yeah, the levels are only really getting longer from this point on, so it's gonna take a while before we have beaten this game. But it's kind of nice to have long levels compared to Serious Sam 2's rather short levels. Though it does mean the videos take a little bit longer to like prepare and make and stuff. But that was that. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next time we play, we are going to do level 8, The Dark Bride. And it's going to be fun, and I hope to see you there. Bye-bye.